All right. Hey, everybody. This is Claude McFarlane, CEO and founder of the McFarlane Group. I'm here on day 24 of our 30-day self-improvement challenge, and I've got a special guest today. You guys are going to have to bear with me. I'm here with David Cook, formerly of Marquette High. That's where I know him from, and he actually was the one that coached my little brother in basketball. And we're here today, today's topic, to talk about no excuses. And I've been waiting to do this one for a while, and God would have it that he called me last night and said, I need to be in one of your videos, man. And I said, I got the perfect one for you. And the reason why it's the perfect one for Mr. Cooks is because, if you don't know, Mr. Cooks is in a wheelchair, okay? And that's probably the last thing that ever comes up about him, because he doesn't have any excuses. He doesn't let excuses drive what he's got to do or his agenda or process, as we talked about yesterday. So, I really just want to kind of talk to Mr. Cooks about what your perspective is overall on no excuses.
Well, first of all, thank you.
Yeah, absolutely.
For including me in this. You've been doing great work with your videos. So, to be here to talk about no excuses is really very timely. One of the things that I believe in is not stopping, because excuses don't stop you.
No, they don't.
Obstacles don't stop you. Stopping is what stops you.
Yeah.
And so one of the things I've learned to do is try to navigate through obstacles and around obstacles in order to complete things. And I think that's really what we want to talk about, because everybody is going to be faced with challenges, difficulties, things that seem insurmountable for them to overcome. And hopefully after today, someone will be inspired to know that you're not alone, and don't stop. You want to get to the finish of what you're supposed to do.
That's good. And I think one of the things that is included in that is really just grabbing the bull by the horns yourself. A lot of people get scared, right? We talk about fear. Fear is one of the things that was one of our topics on our 30-day challenge. And fear, for some reason, will stop people from driving. And I heard a quote by Tony Robbins one time that said, burn your boats. When you get to the island, burn your boats. Don't make it where you have excuses. What can you tell us a little bit about that in your experience?
Yeah, I think fear is a very interesting thing, because fear is not necessarily always bad, but it can cause you to be cautious. And I think sometimes you have to be cautious in the things you do. I also think that, for me anyway, keeping the end game in mind was always and continues to be important.
Sure.
Because it eliminates things along the way that I think could hinder that process.
Okay.
And so you may call it burn the boats. I'm just like, whatever comes your way, figure out how to put it in your process.
Right.
One of the things I tell people is that adversity doesn't define you, but it can impact the road that you're going to take to get to your destiny.
Yeah.
And so you may have to take a different route as a result of some of the things you're faced with, but you must continue on. For me, basketball is one of the things I loved to do.
Yeah.
And then when I was 15 years old and had the spinal aneurysm, I didn't lose my love for the game. I had to figure out now how to still fulfill that love.
Right.
And so there was
great.
wheelchair basketball, but after that ended, I still had the love for the game. And that's where coaching came in, and then coaching has led to so many other things.
Yeah.
But I never lost that love, and I never lost the pursuit of that love, in spite of the fact I had to take a different route to get there.
I mean, you still executed.
Yes.
You still got the job done. I think that's one of the things that I really admired about you the most, is you never let anything stop you from getting the job done.
Well, ultimately, that's what everybody is measured by. It's whoever you are and whatever your situation is did you get the job done?
Right.
At the end of the day, were you productive? Were you able to accomplish it? And that's the measure. That's the measuring stick. And quite honestly, most people aren't going to care that much about your situation. You know why? Because they have their own that they're dealing with.
Right.
And so the message is really that if I can do it, and if you can do it, then someone else can do it. And I think that's really what people need to hear, more so than about the struggle. Is about how you were able to, in spite of the struggle, get the job done.
Right.
Because ultimately, you really want to get the job done, and you want to do a good job. Because if you do well, success breeds success.
Yes, it does.
And on the flip side of that, stopping breeds stopping.
Good point.
And so because once you stop, that's it. The greatest running backs, for a football analogy, are the ones when they get hit, they keep their legs moving.
Yeah.
They're the toughest ones to bring down.
Absolutely.
The guys that go down right away,
Mhm.
they have a problem.
Yeah. Hey, you talked about how sometimes we get distracted, by other people. I remember in some of our past conversations, you were like, Claude, I know you're going through a tough time, but don't let those things distract you. Don't let other people distract you. I think a lot of times when people distract us, they start giving us excuses.
Yes.
They start saying, why don't you do this? Or how about you do this? And they start making judgments on us and force us to adhere to their perspectives of us.
Mm-hmm.
And it keeps us from getting to where we need to go. Can you talk about a little bit about how pleasing other people might be an excuse to keep you from where you need to go?
Well, it's interesting. One of the things that I believe, and I know that I think you believe it too, is you've got to be very careful of who's in your circle.
Yeah.
Because either they're going to be propelling you to where you're going or preventing you from where you're going.
Yeah.
It's one of two things.
We talked about that whole the other day, circle of influence.
Yes, circle
Yeah.
of influence.
Mhm.
And so, I think that I really don't care what you think about me.
Mhm.
I mean, I really don't. Because at the end of the day, I need to be able to look at myself in the mirror and know that I've done the best I can. Now, if that's pleasing to you, I'm happy about that. But if not, that's okay.
Yeah.
Because ultimately, I'm responsible for getting the job done.
Yeah.
I'm responsible for getting there. And if people can help me along the way, I will gladly take it.
Mhm.
But people who want to hinder me along the way, they're not a part of my wagon.
Right.
They can't be a part of what I'm doing. And so that really is how you can avoid. There's so many voices out there now. You've got to be careful about the voices that you listen to,
That's true.
because they impact how you think, how you respond, and it's just important to make sure that you've got people involved with you that can help move you forward.
Right.
Help move you forward, and that's what you really want.
Hey, you can't please them. You just got to use and leverage that to help move you forward and
Yes.
get the job done. And you had spoken about something too, about taking ownership,
Mhm.
accountability for
Yeah.
it. Look, some things are going to come your way, one way or another,
Right.
and it's either you're going to get the job done or you're not.
Mhm.
You're going to execute or you're not. And you either have something that you can leverage,
Right.
in spite of
Yep.
why you got it done,
Mhm.
or you're going to have an excuse, of why you did it.
Right, right, and I tell you what, the former sounds a lot nicer than the latter.
Yeah.
Because there's always a legitimate reason not to accomplish something.
Sure.
There's always a legitimate reason not to do something.
Mm.
Always.
Mhm.
But if you're destined and born to do something, then that can't become an excuse.
Right.
Reasons can't become excuses.
Yeah.
And you have to go past reasons sometime to get to the finish line and get the job done.
And I think that really helps us grow in our character. When we limit the excuses that we have, usually, like you said, there's a lot of reasons why you should or shouldn't do something.
Yes.
But when you go beyond that,
Mhm.
you grow. When you
Yes.
force yourself to dig deep and find a reason to propel you forward,
Yes.
it helps you grow. What do you
Yes.
think about that?
Oh my gosh, yeah, I think that's absolutely right, because part of that is learning how to make tough decisions.
Mm.
Part of that is learning how to make a self-commitment to something in spite of what it looks like.
Without excuse.
Without excuses.
Right.
You've got to see the end from the beginning and
Mhm.
know that's where you're going. And it's kind of like if you're sick and you have a cold, you know what it feels like to be well.
Mhm.
That's how you got to remember. You got to remember that while you're blowing your nose,
Right.
that this is not going to last.
Yeah.
I'm going to be well again. And so this obstacle, this adversity, this pushback I'm getting is not going to last. Most of those things are temporary.
Right.
We make them permanent in their existence, which causes us to stop.
Man.
And those things aren't permanent. They're temporary.
That's good
and
stuff.
and you have to kind of come to that grip and come to that understanding rather, and that really does change things. I think one of the things we haven't touched on directly is it's one day at a time. People ask me, what do I
Yeah.
do? I'm like, look, I live one day at a time. And you know something? That's all you can live.
That's it.
You can't live more than a day at a time, so why try? Why try to live past where you are?
Yeah.
So live in the moment, because if you live in each moment, you can be victorious in each moment that you live. You can't be victorious past this moment.
Right.
you can't jump over here to try to win that battle when you're in this one right here.
That's true.
And so just one day at a time, one moment at a time, and you will look back and be surprised at what you can do, what you can get through. I think, the human will is an interesting thing that we have, because we are able to actually endure things that we don't think we can, and we don't really know about it until we have to.
Yeah.
And as a basketball coach and as a executive management coach, I'm always trying to talk to people about going beyond their limit. You may not think you can hit a three-point shot, but I think you can. And you may not see it in you, but I see it in you.
Yeah.
And now I'm going to try to push you past your layup and push you past your free throw to the three-point line.
It's amazing how a lot of these different topics each day are
Intertwined. Yes,
they're intertwined.
Very much related.
We talked about one, which was do what's hard.
Mm-hmm.
And I think that relates to your point there. And so, I really appreciate all the knowledge that you've shared with us today. And I know that you're always up to something. You always have a lot of irons in your fire. So I know you said executive management coaching, basketball coaching. I know that for a fact that you've got a lot of credibility and skill there. I know that you're also a speaker.
Yes.
And that you write as well.
Yeah, I'm in the process